Are you unwilling to study, Dominic? I'm sorry? You always study. That sounds incredible. Okay, the first step of studying, Audrey doesn't believe your story there. I could tell by her face. And she doesn't believe you because she uses the same story herself and she knows it's not true. Is that true, Audrey? How did I know all that? That's creepy. That's creepy, right, Josh? Did you see that? Audrey didn't even know I was looking at her when she was listening to Dominic's excuse. But her face told me the whole story. Okay, Josh, check this out. The very first thing that you have to do to study is you actually have to make a study guide. And what a study guide is, number one, it's a list. A study guide is a list of topics that might be on the test. It's not a list of problems. So this is something you guys have to learn how to do. I didn't learn this. Like when I went in high school and in college, I didn't know this. Alyssa, you know where I learned this? This is the most important part. I learned this from one of my daughters. Yeah. The way you study, the first thing you have to do is you have to make a study guide. And she figured it out because her teachers would give her study guides and she would do them and then she'd go take the test and it seemed totally different. It didn't seem like the study guide helped. And then, yeah. So she did it in high school in a Cambridge class. And on one of those, like the real Cambridge tests, she only missed 1 point on the whole test. She did better than the teacher. The teacher took the test too. She beat the teacher's grade. And she did it not because she's smart. She didn't get that score because she's smart. She did that because she made a study guide and she learned how to study. So make a list of the things you've learned in class first. So what have we learned in these 4 weeks of school? So you can look through your notes and just tell me, what have we learned? Yes. So we've learned about reducing. That's good. Whoa. Because we're going to do this together. All right? I really want to help you guys learn how to study because it'll help you with all your classes. What else have we learned? Oh, yeah. LCM and GCF, that's right. Lowest common multiple and greatest common factor. That's true. What else have we learned? Sebastian, look through your notes if you can't think of something. Yes? Yeah, reducing. Can I just put it like that? Because they're actually like the same topic. Like reducing and reducing those algebraic fractions, they're the same thing. That's good. Yes, sir. Oh. There's 3 kinds of factoring I have you do, right? There's prime factors. There's factoring completely. And then I have you factor to find the perfect square. And it's the biggest perfect square we got to find, right? Oh, yeah. That's what we're having a little trouble with. So we got these factoring things like that. Okay. What else? Yes, sir, Sebastian. Composite numbers. Prime numbers. What's all that, like, what's all this stuff? Do you remember? Do you remember, like, it's also, what else do we learn that is related to all this? Because if we can think of the words that go with it, then if we really forgot, we could just look it up on, GOOGLE. But we need the words. Because you can't go to Google and say, hey, I learned this thing and I forgot it. You have to have a question. Huh. Do you remember, Hazel? Remember, it's like natural numbers, whole numbers. They're all called real numbers is what they're called. They're called real numbers. Not real hashtags, real numbers. So properties of real numbers is what it was. So we'll write that out here. I'm going to put it in a different color. This is all about properties of real numbers. Okay, that's good. Ivan, what else have we learned? Cesar, you got something while he figures out something too? Oh, yeah. Add and subtract rational numbers. Like, add and subtract those fractions. And it's not just fractions, right? It's with variables, with x and y and all that stuff, right? Yes, sir.
What's the difference between multiples and factors?
Oh, yeah. Would that fit in one of these lists we already have? Yeah. So we could do multiple versus factor. That's a confusing thing, isn't it? Yeah. Alex, you got anything that we can add to this list? Not sure? Okay. Yes, sir, Sebastian. Yeah, that's this one right here, right? That goes with this, the denominators, right? Anything else we can think of that anybody has let you know to share? Nobody? All right. I think that about covers it. I can't think of anything else either. I think that's what we've learned in the first 4 weeks of school. Okay, so that's step one. You make a study guide. You make a list of topics, right? Now, this next part's different for everybody. I want you to put a star by the ones you think you're best at. Some people aren't writing anything. They're like, I'm not good at any of these. Okay, now, those of you who didn't write anything on the next part you want to do, you're probably going to want to write it on everything, but don't. Pick the one that's pick the topics that are the most difficult. You can't say them all because they're not all the most difficult, because that's not really going to help you. Which is the one that's the most difficult for you? Oh, yeah. I'm going to put a star by this one. Now, you guys have in your possession all your quizzes and tests, right? Later tonight, when you study, one of the things you should do is you should look at those quizzes and tests and see how you're doing with these. The ones with the arrow by them, those are the things you're not very good at. Because what you're going to do is you're going to make a practice test. You're going to make a practice test. So you're going to write down those problems again, and then you're going to try them, and you're going to see, because I think you have access to all the answers. I think I've made, well, I don't know. I think I've given you all the answers to everything we've done so far. I might be wrong, but I think you should have them. And if you don't, then you can ask in the morning and I'll tell you. But you could write it down and try them. All right. So let's do a show of hands. We've got 5 topics. We're going to review one right now, and I want to show of hands which one you want to do. So you can just put up 1, 2, 3, or 5, 4 or 5 to say which one you want to do. So go ahead, let's see a show of hands. 1 for 1, 2 for 2. Whoa, it's kind of all over the place. Interesting. Okay. All right, so I think this is one we're going to do. I think we're going to talk about 1 because number 1 does everything except for number 5. This one right here. In order to be able to do this, you have to be able to do all of these, except for number 5. And then we'll talk about number 5. So we're going to talk about all these all at once. That's weird. It's weird how that works. Alyssa, that's really interesting though, because remember how I said I can teach you how to, I can like train you to pass a quiz on this, and then train you to pass a quiz on this, but if you don't understand these, then you will never be able to put it all together. And this is all one topic really. Okay, so we're going to talk about reducing. Okay, Josh, you ready? Here we go, buddy. R-E-D-U-C-I-N-G. Woo! Okay, first of all, what is it? What is reducing? Yes, sir, Josh. Means make it smaller with division, you're right. So reducing means make smaller with, is that okay for the word with? Make smaller with division. Hey, Gabriel, what is it that we divide? When you're reducing, what is it you divide by? Absolutely right, the greatest common factor. Thank you, Gabriel. He didn't say anything, did he? I didn't think so. Let's do one with some numbers and some letters. You ready? Listo? Let's use A for Alex. And let's use, H for Hazel. And because Hazel got a really good score, we're going to do Hazel squared. And we're going to divide that by 40. M for Martha Mendoza, which is an M squared. And H for Hidalgo, because Sebastian over there. Yeah? So we're going to reduce this. The first thing you got to do, well, do you see? We have to make this smaller, and what we have to do is we have to divide by the greatest common factor. So that means we have to find that first. Maricela, you see how we're using the definition of what reducing is to do it? Like this tells you the step. So we have to find the GCF. Ivan, what is the GCF of 12 and 40? 12 and 40? He says 4. Do you guys agree or disagree? He says 4. How can we know if that's the biggest one? So if I divide 4 out of 12, I'm left with 3, right? If I divide 4 out of 40, I'm left with 10, right? So 4, do 3 and 10 have anything in common? No? So that's right. He's right. That is it. It's 4. And that's how I know. There's nothing left in common between the factors of 4, or between 12 and 40. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to divide by 4. The GCF is definitely 4. But then what about the letters? Do you see how there's an A here, but not on the bottom? Do you see what I'm talking about? Audrey's got to look at the board to see it. There we go, Audrey. 3 in the morning. Man, wow. This is rough. So there's an A here, but not on the bottom. So that means I can't reduce by A. A is going to stay. And you see there's an M here, but not on the top. So that's going to stay. But H and H squared. What's that greatest common factor? What is it, Maricela? H. That's right. Okay. Now, how many H's are right there? 2. 2? H times H. Travis, it looks like there's only one written, but that 2 right there, exponent, means it's really H times H. Yeah. Okay. So the GCF is 4H. That's what I'm going to divide out. 4 out of 12 is 3, and 4 out of 40 is 10. Yeah? When I divide H into H, I'm just left with 1, right? Not 1H, just 1. And when I divide h out of this, I'm left with just 1h. Because this is the part that's confusing, watch. This is what it really is. Like that's what that part is. And Ivan, that equals 1, yes? So you're just left with h. So here's what we got. We have 3, we have a, we have h. And on the bottom, 10 m squared. And we're done. Couple questions for you. Cesar, on our list we have primes and all that stuff, right? Is this prime? Yeah? Is this prime? No? So let's use these two numbers. Let's do factorization of 12 and 40. Let's do 12 and let's factor completely. So Arath, would 12 be 1 and 12? Yeah? Okay, does 2 go into 12? 6 times. 6, 3, 4 times, and then the next number is 4 and 3, and then you see how it turned around? So that means I'm done. Those are all of the factors. That means factor completely. We're done. Yes, Hazel? So, now, if I asked you for the prime factors, though, for prime factors, like primes are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. They only have, primes are numbers with 2 factors only. So we're looking for numbers that only go into 12. And then Arath, he did it like this morning. He did like 12 is 2 times 6, and 6 is 2 times 3, right? So 12 equals 2 times 2 times 3. Those are the prime factors. Because 2 is prime, and 3 is prime. That's it. No 4, no 1, no 12, no 6. Those aren't prime. And if you multiply 2 times 2 times 3, you get 12. Those are the prime factors. What do you think, Ivan? Yeah? Okay. Biggest perfect square. 12's not a perfect square. 6 isn't a perfect square, but 4 is. That's the perfect square right there. Now, Gabriel, they don't always have a perfect square, but this one does. Dominic, you doing okay over there? Dominic, could you do this with 40? Could you do the factor completely? Could you find the prime factorization, and could you see if there's a perfect square of 40? You sure? Really? Oh, really? Wow. If I ask you really, you change. I'm a slow learner, Josh. Like I don't pick up on things very quick sometimes, but I'm getting the impression that every time Dominic says something, if I ask really, he changes his answer.
Yes.
Watch. Really?
Question.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. You ready then?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do, which one do you want to do first for 40? You want to factor completely, prime factors, or biggest perfect square?
Let's do.
Which one?
Yes.
Dominic, factor completely. Okay, so let's do that. What are we going to write first?
Wait, hold on. All right. 40. I got my 40 up there.
Yeah. Juan.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let's see. 2. Shut up.
1 and 40?
Yes.
Ah, is that what Alyssa told you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should listen to her. Okay, then what, Dominic?
Hold on. Shut up.
Wow, Dominic. 2 and what?
Hold on. Yes.
Dominic, why 2? Tell me this, why 2?
Because it goes to 40.
That's right. 2, we write 2 because 2 goes into 40. So the next thing we have to write is how many times does it go into 40? How many times does 2 go into 40? 20. Yeah. Dominic, this is really good. I think some people just learned something. They learned why we write these numbers. Does 3 go into 40? No, so we don't write down 3. 4 goes into 40 how many times?
10.
Yes, yes. 5 go into 40?
Yeah.
8, yes. Does 6 go into 40?
Hold on. Don't think so.
You don't think so? I don't think so either. Does 7?
No.
No. Does 8?
Yes.
Yes, 5 times. Do you see how it turned around?
Yeah.
That means we're done. So these are the complete factors. That's all of the factors of 40. That's how you find it. Thank you, Dominic. Dominic, I think people just learned something.
Well,
Wow. But they're going to forget, so they should check this when I'm going to put this on YouTube later, and they can check it if they wanted. Okay. Now, Dominic, who's going to do, since you did the complete factorization, who's going to do the prime factors? You can pick anybody you want. Alyssa, that's a good choice. Hi, Alyssa. ¿Cómo estás, Alyssa? Bastante bien. Alyssa, what is the smallest prime factor of 40? 2. 1's not prime, right? How many times does 2 go into 40 again? 20. Okay. Is 20 prime? 20 is prime. Does anything go into 20 other than 2 and what? It's not prime. Of course, 2 goes into it, so it's not prime. Okay, so what do I do next? Wow, you seem to have all the answers for Dominic factoring completely. But now the shoe's on the other foot. What else goes in? Well, yeah, right?
Well, I was going to say it, but I thought I was wrong.
That's okay. Wait a minute. Now listen, you said you didn't want to say it because you thought you were wrong. Now Dominic said some things that were wrong, and he learned, and so did everybody else. We're not going to learn from what's right. If we learned only from what's right, then you would know everything because I've told you everything right. We learn from the mistakes. So you're right, though. We have to see what goes into 20. So what does go into 20? 2 and 10. Is 10 prime? No, because 2 goes into it. Is 2 prime? Right. So now what do we do? We're trying to find the numbers. When we're doing prime factorization, we're trying to find the numbers that are prime that multiply together to make 40. So this is 5 times 2. So then is it 2 times 2 times 2 times 5?
Yeah.
So this is our answer. 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Now let's make sure that's true. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 5 is 40. That's true. That's right. And they're all prime. There's nothing in there that's composite. Yes, Arath? Yeah. I think you're going to get 100 on your quiz tomorrow. That'd make me happy. Okay, Ivan, you're on the hot seat. What's the largest perfect square that's a factor of 40? 4. That's the largest perfect square. Now, people are doing this all the time. They're saying, I'm asking for perfect square, and you're taking the number and you're multiplying it by itself. That's not a factor of 40. It says in words very clearly, what's the factor that's a largest perfect square of 40? It's not saying take 40 and square it. Krista, you're doing good. That's $10. Okay, Krista, I think we have done an example of, I think we've talked about composite numbers. I think we've talked about factoring. I think we've talked about GCF and reducing. But we haven't, you can't see the whole thing. But we haven't talked about LCM or adding and subtracting, have we? Guess what's next then? Because these things go together. Yeah? Okay. Ready, Brianna? Brianna, this is fancy reviewing we're doing here today, isn't it? Do you see how you guys came up with the topics? That's the best way. Wake up, Sebastian. Are you okay, buddy? Your name's Sebastian, right? That's weird. Yeah. Nope. That would be unfair. Oh, we can do one of those, but let's do this real quick. Let's use our same numbers. Those are the same things we used before, right? Except before they were in a fraction and we had to reduce. So now we have to find the common denominator. Sebastian's giving me the stink eye now. Common denominator. To add these, we need a common denominator, and that's the lowest common multiple. Krista, people are having a really hard time with this. Look, check this out. You see 40 is bigger than 12, right? Does 12 go into 40? That's the first check. The first thing you want to see is, does this number go into that one? Because if it did, then that would be the LCM. But calm down, Dominic. Leave your clothes on. Thank you. No, on. Good. Yes, yes. Luis. So, Luis, here's what I would do. 40, 12 doesn't go into 40. Does 12 go into 80?
Wait, no. Yes.
I'm asking. I don't know. Does it? Does 12 go into 80?
Division.
No, that would be 60.
No.
Okay, so if I add, wait, where did I get 80?
You.
40.
40.
40 and 40 is 80. Now, one more 40 would be 120, right? Is that true?
Yes.
80 plus 40 is 120. Does 12 go into 120?
Yes. Yes.
It does. 12 does go in. This is 12 times 10, do you see? And this is 40 times 3. That's 40 times 1, that's 40 times 2, that's 40 times 3. Ask me, Dominic, please keep the chair down. Thank you. What's your question, Alyssa?
Never mind.
Okay, never minding.
No, it's because that you said what?
No, I'm sorry.
I said all you.
Okay, Maricela, we're running out of time, so we gotta make sure we get this done. You guys have done a good job. We gotta focus. We gotta finish really good. So I know my denominator is gonna have a 120 in it. Yeah? For sure.
Yes.
So the way I get this to be 120 is I have to multiply by 10 over 10, and this one by 3 over 3. But we're not done. There's more, right? There's more, because we have to do the letters. What's the LCM of A? Oh, there's no A over here, huh? Do you see this one doesn't have an A? It needs an A. So we have to multiply by A over A also. Yeah. This one has an M squared, but this one doesn't, right? This one needs an M squared, because this one has one.
It's H.
So I have to multiply by M squared. You good?
Yeah.
Josh, the H is the tricky part. Like the A is easy because there's one here, not there. The M squared is easy because there's one here, but not there. And we have to make them the same. So it'd be kind of like if you had 3 and 7. To make these the same, you'd have to multiply by 7 and this by 3, right? Because there's a 3 here, but not a 3 here, so we'd have to put one there, right? That's kind of how this is. A is different than M, so yeah. Do you see? So I got to multiply by A on this side, and I have to multiply by M squared on this side. But this part's tricky, because this is 2 H's multiplying, and that's only 1. To make them the same, I need to put an H over here, because then H times H is H squared, which is what that is. I'm glad Audrey's not taking notes, because she's not supposed to. Okay. Now, the top 10 M squared, and over here 3AH. That's it. Done. Do you see where, Josh, do you see where I got the 10M squared? Because in order to make this 120AH squared into this thing, do you see how I multiplied by 10M squared? Because 10 times this is 120, and then there's an M squared here that I have to add it in there. Well, I have to multiply it. I do the same to the top, you see? And then over here, you see I had to put 3AH with this one to make it. So I had to do that to the top too. That's why it became 3AH times 1. Yeah? Okay. Ivan, you said you wanted to do a question. Do you have one in particular?
Yes.
Which is it? Bring it here, and I'll put it up here, and then you can just copy it down. I'll give you your paper back. So this is Ivan's question. You can write this down. Which one? Yes, we will do that. I'll give this back to you. You can just write. Here's what I would suggest. Even though this is on your quiz that you just got back, I would write this down in your notes. Okay, now this is funny, because in your quiz, I did it backwards. Usually we put GCF first and LCM second, and I switched it, and some of you guys messed it up. Got to make sure you're reading. Got to make sure you're reading. Word to the wise, Sebastian, on your test tomorrow, I'm going to ask you for LCM and GCF in words. I'm not going to use the words lowest common multiple. I'm going to say, what's the smallest thing that both of these go into? Because that's what lowest common multiple is. And I'm going to ask you, not for the whole test, but like on one or two questions, and I'll ask you, greatest common factor, I'll ask you, what's the biggest thing that goes into both? Hi, Mr. Green. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you. It's money, I wish. All right. Josh, you ready? Now, this is the one we want to find first. We want to find GCF first. So 15 and 16, they're relatively prime. They don't have any common factors. So 1. There's AB here and XY there. There's nothing else the same. The greatest common factor is 1. That's easy.
Thank you.
Huh, they don't have anything in common. Whoa. Do you see that, Josh? See, there's nothing in common, so it's just 1. This and this are relatively prime, and that's what also makes this part easy. Ivan, since they're relatively prime, there's no common factors. That means that we just have to multiply these two things together. So 15 times 16, let's see, 225, and 15 is 240. A, B, X, Y. Ivan, I'm glad you asked that question, buddy. Anybody else have a question on the quiz they want to talk about? I got a copy of it right here. Which one do you want to do?
240, no, the other one. The one that has a line in 15. 15 times 16.
How what?
That's a 16.
Yeah.
It is, maybe.
No.
She's talking about this. That.
Oh, I was doing the calculation of 16 times 15.
Told you, because that's Jesus Christ.
I was just multiplying 15 times 16. I know 15 times 15 is 225, and 16 has one more 15, so I just added them. Yeah. Sina, you got another question? No? Anybody got another question?
Maybe.
All right. You can put your things away. The bell's about to ring. Just stay in your chair till it does. And Ivan, here, I'll bring your test back to you.